Showtime.
Bro, Chris Paul has better handles than AI.
Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Brand new episode here of the Youngbouls Podcast. It's your boy Dinari here. Happy July. Happy first day of the month. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Yesterday was the beginning of the free agency period. We still got to go over the draft, my winners and losers. Before we even get started with today's episode, I just want to say again, this episode is sponsored by BobbyPod.com, everything Youngbouls Podcast all in one place, as well as Legacy Jersey Shops. If you guys want premium, solid soccer jerseys, authentic ones at that, make sure you guys go to Legacy Jersey Shops. They have a solid collection there. More stuff is being added and updated to the website, so make sure you guys show love to Legacy Jersey Shops, and make sure you guys go check out the website. Tell them that Dinari sent you. Go cop yourself a jersey. I already got myself one, so make sure you go cop yourself one. Go check out Legacy Jersey Shops, and those, again, are our sponsors for today's show. Let's get ahead and get started, man. First, I feel like this episode, since obviously this is the first episode of July, the 70th episode, again, I just want to say thank you guys for the continued support and love that you guys show with this podcast, man. Again, this is something that, I've been doing for a minute. So, again, just huge kudos to you guys for continuing to show, support and love to the podcast and everything like that to ensure that more episodes will continue to be made. Because, again, this could have definitely been a one-and-done type thing. But luckily for us, it's not. So, I just want to say that before we get officially started. But let's go ahead and get started with the NBA draft, man. Obviously, the NBA draft took place last week in New York. Time for some teams to find their missing pieces, to find their foundational pieces, and to make trades and do whatever else you do on draft night. For me, I'm going to go through and just talk about my winners and losers from the drafts. There was obviously a lot of winners in this year's draft. There was a lot of teams that, by looking at their selections, I'm thinking that they got better. I'm not going to be biased here, but the Sixers, my team, we got VJ Edgecombe. That was a huge pickup for us. He was a solid player at Baylor. He played on the Bahamas teams. He's played against pro talent before. I feel like he's going to make a difference. And I feel like with McCain coming back this year, with a weak Eastern Conference, our team is looking very, very deep heading into the season. So that's all I'm going to say for now, because I'm not going to jinx it. This time last year, I did an episode, and this is shortly after Paul George got traded to the Sixers. And I basically was like, we're going to win the East. And for this whole season that just wrapped up, I was biting my words as I saw the Sixers continue to slide lower and lower down in the conference standings to not even reaching 30 wins this year. So I'm not going to say anything else about the Sixers season. All I'm saying is that VJ Edgecombe was a solid pick for us. And Johnny Broome, who was a solid player at Auburn this past season. Yes, people complain about him being unathletic and not being able to jump, but from what I saw with him at Auburn, he was a solid scorer. He was a solid second option behind Tahad Pettiford, and sometimes he even took over games himself. But Johnny Broome, I feel like he can be a solid Markieff Morris type player for the Sixers and could help us win some games. And he's a dog, so I feel good about the pick. But bias aside, it's time for us to go into the other teams that I felt had a solid draft. First off, the team that I felt like had the best draft was the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs fired on all cylinders in this year's draft and truly made it so that they were able to complement Wemby with the necessary pieces to not only win now, but to also win in the future as well. Obviously, the Spurs at this point already have De'Aaron Fox. Chris Paul, I believe, is a free agent this summer. They already have like a solid foundational sort of team. But with drafting Dylan Harper in the first round, and then going and getting a player like Carter Bryant later on in the draft, it just further shows that they're getting pieces that can complement Wemby. Dylan Harper at Rutgers was a solid number one option. He was scoring at will. He was able to play make for his teammates and everything like that. All of that is going to be great and dandy, but it's going to be 10 times easier when you're playing with a player such as Victor Wembanyama, who is a solid scorer, who can, again, is 7 foot, 7 foot talent. He can he block shots and score and make things so easy for other players on the court. But getting a player like Dylan Harper, it's going to just take all the pressure off of Wemby to do something and allow for other players to play make and take over as well. And a player like Carter Bryant, I didn't watch a lot of Arizona games this year. The games I did watch, Carter Bryant was a difference maker in those games. If he's not filling up the points on the score sheet, he's definitely making game-deciding plays, whether it's a rebound, whether it's a defensive stop, whether it's a contest, whether it's, making a pass to the open person. He's there to do that. And Carter Bryant, I feel like he fits the mold of what the Spurs are looking for and a player to help them compete for a championship. You look at old Spurs teams from the past, with Popovich coaching. You've had, players such as, dare I say, Patty Mills. You've had players coming off the bench, Jonathan Simmons, who were able to come in and make an imprint on a game and help decide a game and honestly take over if the starters are, struggling a little bit like that. And that's what the Spurs pride themselves on, is just having pieces that can complement everyone, not just a starting piece, not just a bench piece, but just the whole team as a whole. So, for me, I feel like those two picks were, out of the park picks for the Spurs. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they play this season, especially, with a Western Conference that we're going to get to the free agency thing in a second, but that continues to look like it's going to be the conference to beat. Obviously you have the Rockets, doing a lot so far, not only with the draft, but in free agency. You have teams such as the Nuggets, who, with the moves that they've made yesterday, have put themselves back in the championship title window. You have the reigning defending champions with the Oklahoma City Thunder, with Shea just getting a max contract, literally not even 30 minutes as I'm recording this episode. But the West has continued to get better and better. Now, I said on a previous episode that the Thunder were going to be a dynasty, but I can't lie. This may be a thing where, just like with Boston, they win a title. We all think they're going to be a dynasty, and it doesn't pan out that way. We'll see, but as the West continues to get better, it's good to see that the Spurs are doing everything they possibly can to get better as well, because knowing a player such as Wemby, who is a winner, who wants to be a winner, who wants to, play in the playoff games and meaningful games in late May and early June and things of that nature. The only way you can win is by surrounding yourself with winners. And with this draft that the Spurs just had, with players such as Chris Paul coming in last year and helping out and being that vet for Wemby, players such as De'Aaron Fox being there as well, who's been into the playoffs, who has postseason experience, there to further teach Wemby. It's going to make Wemby even more scary when it comes time for him to have his playoff moment, which, dare I say, is happening this year. I think the Spurs will be a playoff team this year. They look like a playoff team just on paper, and hopefully these draft picks pan out. But let me know what you guys think about the Spurs draft picks. I already said what I had to say about them, but let me know what you guys think, and we'll just go from there. Next on the NBA draft winners list for me, another team that I feel knocked it out the park truly in this year's draft was the New Orleans Pelicans. Getting players such as Jeremiah Fears, and then going to get a player such as Derek Queen, who is a solid big man who was causing a lot of problems to teams in the Big Ten while he was on Maryland, who had that signature moment in the tournament. And then going out and getting Kevon Looney in free agency yesterday. I feel like the Pelicans are priming themselves to be a solid, I'm not saying a title contender, but going to be a middle of the pack team to look out for that can surprise a lot of people next season. Their roster is deep. They have a lot of talent on that roster. Remember I just talked about Kevon Looney. Zion's going to be back next year. We'll see what that happens with that. We have Jordan Poole now being a New Orleans Pelican. I believe Sadiq Bey is going to be there too. But, they have a lot of talent. And the outlook for them this season, I feel like they're going to be a 6, maybe 7 seed at best. Worse, a play-in team. But I like the direction that the Pelicans are going into. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's not going to matter what happens with these picks. More or less, it's going to matter about what's going to happen with Zion. Zion is going to be the ultimate X factor this season for the Pelicans, man. Zion has been, since he's been in the league, since he was heralded the next LeBron, Zion has been, he's lived up to it. Not to the next LeBron title, but he's lived up to being a solid player in this league. He's already had an All-Star appearance. If I'm not mistaken, he probably has an All-NBA appearance, if I'm not mistaken. I could check that, but, correct me if I'm wrong. But Zion is a player in which him getting 20 points is not going to be a problem. The problem is with him is his health. Every year that Zion's played in, Zion has had to sit down because of injuries. Every single season that Zion has been in the league, he has had to sit down with injuries. The question isn't going to be whether or not Zion's going to get you 20 points a night heading into this season. The question is going to be, is Zion going to be healthy enough to power this Pelicans team past February, past March, into April for hopefully a playoff appearance or something like that? That's going to be the biggest thing for the Pelicans this year, is if Zion can stay healthy. Obviously, there's been conversations about Zion's weight. Obviously, there's been talks about his eating habits and, him not being conditioned well and everything like that. But that's going to be like the biggest thing to look at, because I look at this Pelicans team and their roster. Again, they're not winning a championship. They're not winning a championship with this roster, but this team should be pretty fun to look at. And this team, again, could surprise a lot of people and probably end up being maybe a top 6 seed if things go well. But as far as the rookies are concerned, with Fears and Queen, I feel that this rookie class for the Pelicans is going to be very solid for them going forward. Fears is a solid point guard out of Oklahoma. He scores. He's able to play make. Similar to Dylan Harper per se, but a little bit different, as well as Dylan Harper is more of a dynamic scorer than Fears is. But I feel like Fears is going to fit into that Pelicans role very well. Also, too, I've seen it all on Twitter, but the Fears Pelicans jersey, number 0, that's gonna do numbers. That's gonna do numbers. But that's gonna be exciting. And then Derek Queen, again, a big man. He can play, make, and score. Who can take over in big moments. I'm just so excited to see what he looks like in the league, man. I'm so excited to see what he looks like in the league, because he has a lot of potential to be here for a long time and to be great. And I think that the Pelicans, hopefully with these 2 picks, are treading in the right direction for a franchise that, if I'm not mistaken, the last time they reached the play-in was in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Not the playoffs, the play-in. So we'll see about that team going forward. Again, let me know what you guys think about the Pelicans. Do you have them being a solid play-in team this year? Or are they going to be a team that's just going to use this year as a tanking year to get another high pick next year and find one more, cornerstone piece moving forward, with Fears and Queen and Trey Murphy on the roster? Let me know what you guys think. Another winner that we have, obviously, looking at this year's draft, is the Dallas Mavericks. Now, a couple of months ago, back in February, Dallas and Nico Harrison made the stupidest trade I've ever seen happen during a regular season, when they decided to trade Luka Doncic away for Anthony Davis and Jalen Hood-Schifino. And they traded Luka Doncic to another Western power, such as the Los Angeles Lakers. Everybody, including myself, said that trade was the dumbest trade that we have ever seen happen during the regular season, during the trade deadline period. Nobody had any sort of reasoning for the trade, and Nico Harrison had to hear from a lot of people, including Mavericks fans themselves, about why in the world would you make that deal? You should be fired, everything like that. Fast forward to now, the Mavericks somehow, some way won the draft lottery. Many people say it was rigged. I'm not those people, but no way in the world that a team that was in the play-in is winning the draft lottery. That's just me. Then again, I don't know. But anyway, team ends up winning the draft lottery. They end up getting the number 1 pick. And obviously they go with Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg, the highly touted player from Duke. Former Gatorade Player of the Year. Standout at Montverde Academy. Actually, teammates with Derek Queen, actually. But, yeah, they pick up Cooper Flagg. And now you have Cooper Flagg on the team with Derek Lively, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Kyrie. And all I can think is that when Kyrie gets back, that team is going to be real scary. I mean, because the way I see it is that the Mavericks are already built to win now, but no, there's really no buts. They're set up perfectly. When Kyrie gets back, that team's going to be 20 times scarier than what it's going to be when we see this team tip off in October. Cooper Flagg is going to add a whole lot of defense, and as well as being able to create shots for himself on offense. Him and AD in the front court is going to be scary. And it's going to add a lot of height to that team as well. No one's going to really want to challenge them in the paint. And again, the player like Cooper Flagg, that's an easy 15, 20 points a game. For Cooper Flagg this year, I expect him to get Rookie of the Year for sure. I think he's going to be the best rookie in this year's draft. That's why so many people were trying to vie for him at the number 1 pick. And for the Mavericks, again, you look at the team that had no business winning the lottery, but they ended up winning it anyway. They put themselves in position to draft Flagg, and now, after seeing how the Lakers season panned out last year and how Luka was, some may say that Nico was right all along. I'm not those people, but I can sort of see the reasoning behind the trade a little bit more now. Now that the season's over, now that we can really sit down and reflect on Luka's, first stint with the Lakers this year, especially in the playoffs, more specifically on defense. But I will say that with the Mavericks getting Cooper Flagg, honestly, there's no excuse for them to not compete for a title in this window, especially with Kyrie and everything. Kyrie, obviously, he's going to be injured, but he should be coming back probably around December, maybe later on in the season. But with the healthy Kyrie back, and the healthy Kyrie, with Cooper in the lineup, Klay, AD, Gafford or Lively, this team should win north of 40 games this year. Honestly, should win north of 40 games. But either way, even if they don't, that following year, they're going to be set. And with D'Lo coming to the Mavericks as well, with the whole free agency thing happening, that team's going to be set. Like they found a way to win games without Kyrie, without even playing a game yet. Because D'Lo, you're getting a player who, you saw him in Brooklyn, solid scorer, streaky shooter. But when he's on, he's on. We don't talk about LA D'Lo because LA D'Lo, that's not we just ignore that chapter. But in Brooklyn, he was nice. And if he carries what he had in Brooklyn last year over to Dallas this year, the Mavericks will be A-okay before Kyrie gets back. And honestly, with D'Lo coming off the bench and Kyrie starting, that looks kind of scary. So, again, Mavericks are in the best case scenario right now heading into the season. They're not the best team in Texas, though. That title goes to the Houston Rockets, man. Now, if you would have told me back in May that KD was going to be a Houston Rocket, I would have laughed at you, right? I would have laughed. I said, Houston, like, that's disgusting. Why would he want to go to Houston, you know? Yo. Fast forward, Kevin Durant's a Houston Rocket. Dorian Finney-Smith is a Houston Rocket. They got rid of Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. And somehow, someway, they're still able to honestly just improve. That's the real thing. They improved. They have improved. They've improved. I'm just gonna read you the roster right now and just let me know if this doesn't sound like a solid team right here. Maybe a 50+ win team right here. At point guard, you got Fred VanVleet, Aaron Holiday. Shooting guard, Amen Thompson, solid defender. Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore still. Tari Eason, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jayshawn Tatum, small forward. KD, Jabari Smith, who just got the extension, shout out to him. And Jeff Green. Still surprised his old self is still in the league, but shout out to Jeff Green. Then at center, you got Alfred Sengun. You just recently signed Clint Capella, who was another solid free agent pickup, who yet again is another center that the Lakers were looking at getting and failed on getting. I'll get to Rob Plink in a second. We got Steven Adams. Then we got Jock Landale, who was also on the Suns at one point with KD. This team looks very, 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 very solid heading into this season. And with losing Dylan Brooks and losing Jalen Green, you're thinking, oh, the young core, is gone. This team was able to upgrade by getting arguably one of the best scorers in our generation and getting a solid defender who was playing with Luka, who was a solid, corner knockdown shooter and is somebody who can guard 1 through 4, 1 through 5. I would say guard the 1 through the 5, honestly. And Dorian Finney-Smith. Solid wing defender. That's what you need. And for a team that's so defensive-minded like the Houston Rockets, when you look at players like Amen Thompson, it's going to fit so well. So well. The Rockets are looking like a threat, man, in the West. And again, as I said before, talking about the Western Conference and how deep it is and how competitive it's going to be, that's why I'm saying that I honestly do not know if the Thunder are going to be able to repeat as champions this year. I don't. No knock to OKC, but I just don't see it happening again this year. The Thunder are a solid team. They're a young core. Great. But dealing with a Kevin Durant-led Rockets team, dealing with a Jokic-led Nuggets team that not only was able to go out and go get Cam Johnson, but then also go out and bring back Bruce Brown, who was a solid contributor to that NBA Finals team back in 2023, back to Denver for nothing pretty much. That's impressive. And it puts them right back in this title conversation. We'll get to the Nuggets more in a second. But I just don't see how the Thunder can possibly be able to do that. And then, I'm not even mentioning the T-Wolves yet. I'm not even mentioning I didn't even say anything about the Lakers yet, because you still got a game plan for Luka and Braun. The West is going to have some competition this year. I just don't see the Thunder going back to back. I don't see it. I don't see it. I didn't even mention the Warriors yet. And we're still eyeing the Warriors situation to see what's going to happen there. But I'm not going to lie to you. If I'm Steph, I'm going into that front office and I'm saying, yo, find a way to get Giannis over to the Bay. We're looking at the Milwaukee situation. They just lost Brook Lopez, one of the best center, for the Bucks. Somebody who's helped out Giannis, in the front court. They lost him. Bobby Portis isn't enough. Get Giannis to Golden State. The Bucks title window is dwindling. It's closing. We're not worried about that. Let's go get Giannis to Golden State. Let's help him team up with me, and let's go get another ring. That's what I'm doing if I'm the Warriors. Because I'm looking at Golden State, and we'll get back to what I was talking about in a second. But I'm looking at Golden State, and I'm saying to myself, I don't know how long Steph can play at a clip like this, but we need to maximize this as much as possible, because when that fall off happens, it's going to hit like a Mack truck. And we need to find a way to put Steph around people that can help him win now so we can maximize this. We don't know how many more years we have. And that's why the Warriors getting rid of Jordan Poole was such a bad play as well, because with Jordan Poole, Kuminga, and Wiseman, that was going to be the future. Steph could have taken a back seat. That could have been the future of the Warriors. They could have built around those three, the cornerstone pieces. Cool. But because of Jordan Poole leaving, the Warriors are now playing catch-up on who's going to be the future of this team after Steph leaves. What's the future of the Golden State Warriors going to look like after Steph and Draymond decide to hang it up? After Jimmy decides to leave the game? What's going to happen? Pods? Podziemski's going to be the future. Kuminga? The same Kuminga that wasn't getting that much minutes in the playoffs last year? Who's going to be the future of that team? So, it's just one of those things, man. It's just one of those things. The West is going to be scary to look at next year, and I'm excited to see what the playoffs are going to look like next year, too. Because the way I see it is, literally anybody can come out of that conference. Anybody can. There's no clear-cut favorite on who's winning the West next year. But before we go to the East, I want to low-key finish with the final winner in this year's draft, in my opinion. I already said the Spurs, I already said the Pelicans, I already said the Mavericks. The final winner in this year's draft. Oh, I also said the Sixers too. But the final winner in this year's draft is the Washington Wizards, man. Round of applause to the Wizards, man. The Wizards went out. They picked up a knockdown shooter in Trey Johnson. They also picked up another player from Illinois, Will Riley. Now, I know what you're asking, Dinari. Why are the Wizards a winner? Because the Wizards have figured out how to trend in the right direction. We look at the Wizards draft in the past couple of years, man. There's been a lot of hits, but there's been a lot of misses. Johnny Davis. Isaac Bonga. Those are the two that comes to mind for sure. Jan Vesely. That's a throwback one. Jan Vesely. I'm going to search this up right now, actually. Oh man. I'm just gonna name some of the Wizards draftees over the past couple of years that I don't think panned out. Any Wizards fans who are listening to this right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I already said Johnny Davis. I said Isaac Bonga. Jan Vesely. Lord, man. Nate Walters. Lord, man. Oh my gosh. Oh my man. Troy Brown, Yannick and Sosa, dude, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking at the history of the Wizards draft class. There's probably like a couple of hits here and there, but most of these people, I'm not gonna lie to you, I have not heard of. I have not heard of. But it goes back to my point. The Wizards are a team that is trying over the past couple of years to find their identity, to find what makes them trend in the right direction and help them not only win games, but to also put the pieces together to help them compete in the future. Now, with this Wizards team last year, they drafted Sar. Bob Carrington was a piece last year who we saw. Keyshawn George. That was like the three right there. Adding Trey Johnson to that team, that gives you another dynamic scorer and another knockdown shooter. But with the Wizards, the reason why I'm happy about who they drafted this year, and the reason why I also said they're winners too, is because before that draft, I already mentioned earlier when I was talking about the Pelicans how Poole left the Wizards to go play, and the Pelicans. They got traded. They brought CJ McCollum over, as well as Kelly Olynyk. Wizards fans, I'm sorry about the whole Kelly Olynyk thing. I know how you guys are feeling about that. If you guys don't remember what I'm talking about when it comes to the Kelly Olynyk thing, Kelly Olynyk basically was on Washington's hit list after he got into a fight with Kelly Oubre back in the playoffs when he was on Boston, and then he went off for 30 points in the Game 7 against the Wizards that same year, knocking them out the playoffs, thus causing the Wizards to miss out on going to the conference finals. This was back in 2017, 2015, 2016, I believe. 2016, I believe. But anywho, when talking about the Wizards and them trending in the right direction, man, the Wizards have been marred for the past couple of years on trying to win in the lottery, win in the draft, to do things to help them down the line be able to compete and be a team that's a playoff team. And we saw flashes of this team last year. I have not gone to a Wizards game before last year. I had not gone to a Wizards game since John Wall was playing there and Nick Young. For those who don't know who Nick Young is, Nick Young at one point in time in Washington was nice. He was nice. He was nice. And John Wall at this point in time was a rookie. Last year I went to my first Wizards game in over 10 years, and I saw them play against the Utah Jazz with no Jordan Poole playing, with no Keontae George playing. It was straight Wizards B team against the Jazz's B team. Tickets were mad cheap, but I wasn't complaining because I was like, it's basketball, it's the Wizards. Let's just go watch the game, right? That game, Keyshawn George had, I believe, was the leading scorer, which then was followed by Bob Carrington having a solid game, as well as Sar. And I said to my friend, who I went to the game with, Jalen, shout out to Jalen, friend of the podcast, I said to him, you guys are building something. Like, you guys are actually building something. Like, I know I joke about you guys not being good and everything, but you guys are building something here in Washington. This can be a nice core, in a couple years. In a couple years for sure, with some more veteran leadership and everything like that. This could be something. And sure enough, that's what the Wizards are looking towards. With the addition of adding veteran leadership such as McCollum, and I'm not going to say Olynyk, but I'm going to say Olynyk because he's been in the league for a long time. Olynyk and Middleton, and I believe Marcus Smart is still there if I'm not mistaken. Those are players that have learned to win, that have won at the highest level, except for Olynyk. If you count a conference finals, sure, but those are players that have won at a high level, or at least gotten close. They can help teach these young Wizards players, this is what it takes to get there. This is what it takes to get there. While also putting them in position to win games this year. The Wizards team last year, if I'm not mistaken, if I check their record, the Wizards record this year was 18-64. They lost 64 games this year. They were 15th in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to go on record right now and say that this Wizards team next year is winning more than 18 games. And I will not be surprised if the Wizards finish the season probably as the 11th seed or maybe the 12th. I'm not saying they're going to be ready to make the play-in just yet, but that Wizards team is not going to be as bad as they were this year. That team's going to turn a lot of heads. People are going to be like, hold up, I see something building in Washington. Washington may be something, in the next couple of years, but that team is going to fight next year. And I feel like with a player like Trey Johnson coming into the program, that's what the Wizards need. And hopefully, they bring, down the line, they bring playoff basketball back to DC. Because, we saw the revival of the Commanders. We see what's going on with the Nationals with James Wood and C.J. Abrams turning into stars right in front of our eyes. We're going to skip over DC United because I'm just going to be real. I have not followed DC United since maybe I was little. The Capitals will continue to be a solid team. DC could very much be a buzzing sports city yet again, just like they were back in the day. When every team in DC was actually playing well. When RG3 was in Washington, was on the football team. When Bryce Harper and Ryan Zimmerman were powering the Nationals to 90-plus win seasons. When John Wall and Bradley Beal and Marcin Gortat were leading the Wizards to back-to-back playoff appearances and in fourth seeds and fifth seeds and beating teams and making Chinatown and the downtown DC area exciting and buzzing again. This could happen very soon for DC again if the Wizards can just find a way to just trend in the right direction. Look at the WNBA counterpart. Look at the Mystics. The Mystics hit gold in this year's draft, drafting Kiki Iriafen and Sonia Citrone, and you see what they're doing for the Mystics. The Mystics are a fun team to watch. And it's because of their draft. It's because of the team that they have and the young team that they have. And I'm not saying it to say that, they're not going to be anything in the next couple of years, but because of who they drafted and because of the team they already have in the pot right now, they're going to be ready to roll in a couple of years, man. And I won't be surprised they turn heads as soon as this year, honestly. Let me check, actually. The Mystics are one game below 500. That's not even that bad for real. So, again, I feel like with the Wizards, when the Wizards start winning again, which will be very soon, when they start winning again and they start being that team that people my age remember back in the day that used to be in the playoffs almost all the time, when they get back to that, DC is going to be live again, man. But what Jaden Daniels is doing last season and what he may do this year, with what James Wood and C.J. Abrams are going to do for the Nationals for years to come, I feel like it's the beginning of exciting times in DC for sure. But that's why I say the Wizards are going to be, a team in the future that's going to be really nice and a team to really watch out for. Because what I've been seeing in this past draft is that this team can be something. And with getting a player such as Will Raleigh and Trey Johnson, they're in the right direction. So we talked about the winners in this year's draft. It is time for us to talk about the biggest losers in this year's draft. The Brooklyn Nets. Three guards? That's what we're doing? Igor Demine, Drake Powell, Danny Wolf, Ben Seraph, and Nolan Traore. I had to make sure I got the last one right. But yeah, I don't know what the direction is. And now that I'm looking at this team with Michael Porter Jr. heading to Brooklyn, yeah, I'll just cut the cord, man. I don't know what the direction was in this year's draft. I don't know what the Nets were trying to do. Yeah, especially considering the fact that you already have Cam Thomas on the roster. I don't understand why they drafted guard heavy and only getting one big in Danny Wolf, but I'm not trying to make sense of it. They were the losers in this year's draft. And then at the time I am recording this, I mean, Ace Bailey, he reported to Utah. But I will say, just off the fact that it was just all this controversy before the draft even started about Ace Bailey, I would say that his biggest loser is his agent. Most definitely. It's his agent. Now, I don't know if it was a smart idea to not work out with select teams before the draft, but it definitely wasn't a smart idea to basically call teams and say to them, yo, if you have this pick, don't draft Ace. I don't understand why you would do that. I mean, Ace Bailey is a solid player, lottery pick for sure. But you don't run this. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you don't run this. Like, who do you think you are? I understand the power play, but this low-key reminds me of that time where Dennis Schroeder, I believe he was on, I forgot what team, I think it was on the Lakers. He was on either the Lakers or the Celtics. He was on one of the two. But I remember Dennis Schroeder was eligible for an extension. And I guess one team was offering him a lot of money. And Schroeder was like, nah, I'm going to bet on myself. And he bet on himself. And it went completely wrong. And he got less money. And he signed with another team for less. This is what this situation reminds me of. The reason why this Ace Bailey thing is so bad is because I can only imagine what it would be like for Ace Bailey on his first day of training camp, not summer league, but training camp in Utah, having to face all the, players on the team that he quote unquote didn't want to be drafted by, and have to, come into his own as an NBA player. I mean, he's in the right place to do it. I mean, Utah, there's literally nothing else to do in Utah. There are no distractions. It's just the ball and the basket. That's all you have in Utah. That's all you got. That's all you got. So you have plenty of time to figure it out. But for Ace Bailey to make a decision like that, and basically Danny Ainge basically being like, bro, I don't know who you think you are, but you're getting drafted to my organization. Go ahead and sign the dotted line, sign the contract. Welcome to the Jazz. I just don't think that was a good idea for Ace Bailey, agent to advise him to do that. Also, too, I understand that you may have preferred destinations, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those preferred destinations are where you're going to go. Yeah, Ace Bailey was a pick, away for the Wizards. That sucks, but it's tough, but it didn't happen. But it's just one of those things where I sit back and I watch and I'm like, why would you even put yourself in that situation? Why would you even put yourself in a situation where people are asking questions about whether or not you're happy to be drafted in Utah on the night that you get drafted, when there's probably tons of players who don't even have the opportunity to even be playing in the league or let alone get drafted first round? So it's just one of those things that I look at and it wasn't cool with that. I mean, as a Sixers fan, I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted Ace Bailey at one point in time. But with VJ Edgecombe, when I saw that interview and I saw him tearing up and talking about how, his family was living off a generator in the Bahamas and everything like that, that moved me. And seeing a player like that with that much hunger coming to an organization like the Sixers, you know that he's going to do anything and everything he possibly can to help this team win. With Ace Bailey, he's going to a team that he knows, especially with Colin Sexton gone too, he's probably going to be taking a lot of shots there. And that team's not a team that's going to compete. That team's going to be a team that's just going to continue winning throughout the draft. And hopefully this year they show some sort of direction, but I don't see it. This team will be the worst team in the West next year. Yeah, they probably will be the worst team in the West next year. Yeah, I really don't know for Utah. I feel like Utah, ever since Donovan Mitchell and Gobert and Conley, all of them left, they've just had no idea on what to do. The only saving grace for Utah is Lauri Markkanen, and that's only one person. I mean, yeah, you got Deontay George and players such as Johnny Juzang and Isaiah Collier, but again, there's no direction. This is the same Utah Jazz team that I watched play last year in person. I've never seen the Jazz play. It was a close game, but again, I don't know how in the world the Jazz are going to find a way to make this lineup function to help them do any sort of winning in the coming future. But hopefully with getting Ace Bailey, they know what they're getting. And if they don't do any winning, if Ace Bailey plays well, he could possibly be traded for, other assets and stuff down the line. So we'll see. A diamond in the rough type thing. So we'll see. We'll see. So that's going to conclude the NBA draft talk. If I missed any teams, or you guys want me to talk about more teams, or you guys want me to bring on some people to talk about their certain impression on the draft, let me know. I'm going to try to do another episode this week to get more insight and stuff like that, especially to follow this free agency thing some more. But now it's time for us to talk about the meat and potatoes of this episode today, and that's free agency. Now, we talked a little bit about what moves the Nuggets made, what moves the Rockets made. But I want to first start off this free agency conversation with one question for one owner in particular. And that owner is Rob Pelinka. Rob, what exactly is the Lakers' goal for this offseason? Follow-up question. Are we not trying to win another title before Bron retires? Now, obviously, the Lakers are a team that won 53 games last year, lost in the second round. No, they lost in the first round, They lost in the first round to Rudy Gobert in 5 games after Gobert had arguably his best playoff game to date with 30 points and 25 boards. The starting center for the Lakers in this game, Jackson Hayes, didn't get any minutes in that game, I believe. I believe they sat him out that game. One of the biggest things that the Lakers needed this offseason was a center. And in one day, ladies and gentlemen, in one day, the Lakers missed out on Brook Lopez. They missed out on Clint Capella. Ask me what centers are left in the free agency pool that they could possibly go after right now. Go ahead and ask me. I'll answer it for you if you did. Al Horford. Al Horford. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I a Lakers fan. Never been a Lakers fan. Never rocked with the Lakers. The team. But I am a Bron fan. Right? I'm pretty sure everyone who's Bron, who is a fan of Bron, knows that Bron does not have that much time left to be playing at this high of a level. Bron is about to be in year 23. 23. Bron doesn't have that many more opportunities to go after a championship. He doesn't. Simple as that. But if I'm an organization that knows this and knows that Bron and Luka together obviously wasn't enough, I think I need to go make a move. My question of the day is, why in the world has Rob Pelinka and the Lakers organization not found a way to make a move to help Bron maximize his chances of winning a championship before Bron retires? It's like we're just watching and just sitting back and saying, you know what? Jake LaRavia. That's it. That's the offseason right there. My brother, what in the world are we doing? And it's just like, it makes me upset because it's like the Lakers, knowing the Lakers and knowing what they've done in the past couple of seasons, the Lakers are going to be like, oh, Jake LaRavia is going to be a solid pickup. The Lakers probably going to make one or two more moves to help out in the bench area. But outside of that, they're not going to make any more moves, and it's going to be the same roster as it was last season. And if I'm LeBron, I'm not having that. Now, Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, hasn't had any conversations about Bron asking for a trade. But he did come out and say that he respects what the Lakers organization is doing and he's appreciative of his time there. But to sum it all up, he is trying to be realistic when it comes to chasing that championship. If the Lakers give him the best opportunity to do so, sure, I'll stay. I'll compete. But if they don't, I'm out the door. I'm out the door. And I'm not gonna lie to you. This Lakers thing was like cute, like it was cool, it was fun. But if Rob's not gonna make any more moves between now and the end of the free agency period, LeBron needs to go ahead, call Steph, and be like, let's do the Olympics all over again, let's team up. I don't see why not. Just look at all the players that the Lakers missed out on the past years, man. Kyrie. KD. They missed out on so many players, and they had to settle for players that had a one season of success, such as like Gabe Vincent. Oh, man. It's like the Lakers, man. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. I'm pretty sure Bron, like, first it was the coaching thing with Darvin Ham. Now it's the roster being constructed. It's like Bron just, he needs help. He needs help. Like, Luka's not enough. And then the other saving grace for the Lakers was, at least you got defenders such as like Dorian Finney-Smith. And turns out, I don't know if this report is true or not, but apparently the reason why Dorian Finney-Smith decided to sign that deal with the Rockets, or was like more encouraged to do so, was that Rob Pelinka was talking to this again. I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw this on Twitter. Take it with a grain of salt. Apparently, Rob Pelinka was talking to teams about Dorian Finney-Smith and talking about his injury and everything like that, or his knee or something, to tank his trade value. And that got back to Dorian Finney-Smith's camp. They found out about this and they're like, nah, I'm out of there. He's going to talk trash about me behind my back. I'm gone. Don't even worry about it. Peace out, Luka. I'm out to Houston. And now everybody's looking at Rob Pelinka like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But again, I can't stress this enough, man. Bron needs to compete for a championship. Bron needs to compete. And the way this team is built, Bron can. But if there's no help in that front court, what is Bron and Luka supposed to do? Like, what is he supposed to do? No way in the world that a 40-year-old should be doing what LeBron is doing. And you're telling me that you can't, as an owner, assess this and be like, you know what? Bron's doing this. We need somebody that can do this to lighten the load up a little bit. Luka and Bron can't do everything. We can't rely on Luka and Bron to drop 40 every night. We need a center to take some of that, off of them. Easy alley-oops. Easy lobs. Rebounding. All that. But the Lakers they're just not doing it. They're not doing that. They're not making any moves that can help them out in that thing at all. You missed out on Capella. Missed out on Brook Lopez. Kevon Looney is gone too. So that's another rebounding center that the Lakers could have benefited from that is gone. Porzingis is also gone. He's in Atlanta right now chilling. So it's like, I just don't know. But then this also leads to my next question. If LeBron did request for a trade, where would you like to see LeBron go and compete for a championship and possibly finish out his career? Me personally, I want LeBron to team up with Stephen Curry so bad. I want LeBron to team up with Steph so bad in Golden State. That would just be such a solid team. And it's been something that we saw this at Team USA in the Olympics. I would just want to see that for 82 games. I don't even care they don't win a championship. Just seeing Bron and Steph team up, that would be awesome to me to just watch. And plus, it seems like Bron's teamed up with almost everybody else. He's teamed up with Westbrook. He's teamed up with I'm trying to think, Dwayne Wade. He's teamed up with Shaq. Just go ahead and team up with Steph for the one time. It'll be cool. But I don't know, man. If the Lakers don't make any moves, man, I just don't see Bron staying there. I don't. I see Bron asking out. Like, he controls his destiny. Like, if he wants conversations of trades to be had, he can make that happen. He has the power to do that. But if I'm LeBron, I find it hard to believe you don't do that if the Lakers don't make any sort of moves that you look at this team heading into October and say to yourself, this team looks like a championship team. Because if the starting center is, I'm scared to even check this Lakers rock. Let's see, man. Let's just go ahead and check. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that starting center would either be Koloko, Jemison, or Jackson Hayes. And we don't even know if Jackson Hayes is going to even stay in a Lakers uniform next season. So, we'll see. We'll see. But Pelinka, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know how many more times you have of not making any moves before somebody comes into your office and be like, yo, you got to step down. Because it's getting ridiculous. It's not just this offseason that you've done this. You've been doing this for a couple of years now. You look at how the Lakers teams were constructed back in 2021 and 22, 23. Like, those were playing teams. Like, honestly, yes, the team in 2023 made it to the conference finals. They got swept. Like, on paper, that team was bad. That team was bad. It was bad. That team was bad. The team had no business being in the conference finals. I'm just gonna say it. But it was because of Bron and AD that they were there. And Reeves stepping up. But those teams were poorly constructed. Nobody on earth at the beginning of that playoff said the Lakers are going to be a team in the conference finals, let alone a team that's going to make it to the finals. So, Pelinka, I don't know how long you got, man. But you better make something shake, because if nothing is going in the right direction, I don't know what is next for you. In all honesty. I don't know. Whoa! And literally as I'm recording this episode, Milwaukee is waiving Damian Lillard. Wow. After Dame Lillard tore his ACL in the playoffs? Wow. Yeah, if I'm Giannis, I'm asking out. I'm asking out. This is ridiculous. That's kind of I don't like that. No, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow. That's crazy. I'm trying to read more about the news. Let's see. And Miles Turner is heading to Milwaukee. So that's another center that the Lakers could have benefited from that another team got to before they could. Wow. 4 years, $107 million deal with the Milwaukee Bucks for Miles Turner. Wow. That's something. That's wow. Just stunning news. Shout out to Shams. Wow, right in the middle of the podcast episode. That is crazy. So I think I was talking about the Lakers before. I was gonna do a topic on like Lopez to the Clippers and what that means for Giannis, but with them getting a player like Miles Turner that can stretch the floor, it's almost like they replaced the vacant hole that Lopez left and replaced it with another similar player model, and Miles Turner, who can shoot the three ball and can also play, defense and, get rebounds and stuff like that. Everything that a center can do. So honestly, for the Bucks, I mean, I guess they're back on the schedule. I don't know. I feel like it's too early to even call it. But we'll see. We'll see. I still think if I'm Giannis, I'm asking out though, respectfully. If I'm Giannis, I'm asking out. This is nuts. Last but not least, with free agency, I want to give a huge kudos to the Atlanta Hawks, man. The Atlanta Hawks have been making every right move for them. Picking up Nickeil Alexander-Walker, getting Kristaps Porzingis, drafting Asa Newell in the draft last week, and surrounding Trae Young with some weapons that can help the Hawks compete. Because as I said earlier with the West is going to be very competitive. The East is going to be wide open for the taking. The East is going to be wide open. The Pacers are going to be without their best player in Halliburton. And now with Miles Turner gone, it's like, dang. Thomas Bryant is also out of there, so it's like, dang. So they're not going to be a threat really next year. Milwaukee is kind of iffy. And with Damian Lillard leaving, getting waived, and with just Giannis out there, we don't know what to expect with this new look Bucks team. Jason Tatum's out with an ACL, so you have a filler year for the Celtics to truly just figure out their identity and whether or not they're trying to just continue to win or just be in the middle of the pack. So they're not going to be as good. The Knicks are going to be the Knicks, so that's whatever. The Pistons are probably going to be nice next year, especially taking advantage of how weak the Eastern Conference is going to be. I don't see the Cavs repeating what they did this year. They're probably going to be a middle-of-the-pack team as well. But if the Philadelphia 76ers don't find a way to come out the East this year, it's never going to happen, though. This may be Embiid's best chance of going to a conference finals. Can't believe I'm saying conference finals instead of finals. But this is his best year to do so. He's going to come back healthy. The whole team has basically been resting since March, early April, since we didn't make the playoffs. There's no reason why the Sixers team should not make it to a conference finals next year. If we don't do it next year, it's not going to happen when everybody gets back. It's not going to happen. At all. At all. But what this does for the Hawks as well, though, is that the Hawks are also saying, like, slowly roll. I know these teams may be the favorites, but don't forget about us, too. You saw what we did in 2021 when we went to the conference finals. We're going to make some noise in this conference, too. And I feel like with these pieces that the Hawks are picking up, with a defender like Nickeil Alexander-Walker to pair with Dyson Daniels, a knockdown shooter, Luke Kennard, and a five that can stretch the floor in Porzingis, and another defender and a knockdown shooter in the draft like Asa Newell, the Hawks will be primed for, surprising a lot of people this year. And dare I say, finishing as a top 4 seed in the East. Who knows? But again, that's going to do it for this episode. It's been an action-packed episode. We talked about a lot of things. But again, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for continuing to show love and support to the podcast. New episode may be coming this week. We may have a special guest. We were going to talk a little bit about the GOAT debate again today. But because of me having a conversation about it with my mom about who the GOAT was, I'm just going to save it for an episode that she's going to be on to be able to say her piece about who she thinks the GOAT is and why. Because this conversation was actually one of the most entertaining conversations I've had about, LeBron versus Jordan, especially with my mom, in a minute. So hopefully you guys enjoyed as much as I do. Again, we're going to probably have the episode up by Thursday, but we'll see. Don't hold me to it, but we'll see. But again, that's going to do it for this episode today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Again, this episode is sponsored by ybpod.com and Legacy Jersey Shop. So make sure you guys go check those places out. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.